Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina, Collier, social recruiting trainer and speaker, and I'm back, more excitedly. I'm, of course, joined by my gorgeous co-host, Audra, employer branding genius, nerd, ice skating, amazeballs human being. And today, super excited, finally, to get Louise onto the other side of the interviewing panel. Of course, Louise, Triance, UK recruiter, founder, I guess, event organizer, and all-round extraordinary human being. Thank you for joining us.
I can't believe we haven't had you on sooner. Thank you so much. I'm excited for this chat.
It is so cool. It's lovely not to have to be the one pressing the button.
Good point.
For once, it won't go wrong, but if it does, it's not my fault.
No, it'll be my fault.
Where should we start with this one? Or maybe we should talk about your background in case anyone maybe. I don't know if anyone would not know you because you're super HR famous, but just in case, let's talk about what you've been up to.
Okay, so I've realised that next year will be my 29th year in the recruitment space, which is literally the most depressing thing. But I'm telling everyone, so obviously I don't care.
What year?
29.
That's not possible. You must have started when you were 10.
It really is. So I started off as a recruiter, that was years and years ago, and then I ended up with this community of recruitment people where I do a load of online stuff, obviously, and physical events. And it's everyone in the recruitment space, obviously very UK focused, chose domain UK recruiter, but more and more having conversations outside of the UK, but still events only in the UK market.
So far.
Yeah.
The reach, I can definitely see the reach spreading all over the US so far. But do you ever think about you might start doing events in the US, or you like to keep it?
So I don't actually really like leaving my house. I'm not agoraphobic, although, but I prefer, I like working from home. I've worked for myself from home for 20 years. I love being with people and, communicating with people. I do like the events that we do. But for me, the UK is enough for now.
It's funny, that thing, isn't it, when you think like for 20 years you've been working from home and you have these people that are like, oh, you can't possibly work from home. Like, why not? I've been working from home for 9 years without any problem. It's just got easier, if anything. So, yeah.
No, so much more common, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
So what's that?
It's just so much more common. Like, I used to not know anyone that worked from home. Now I do, and everyone I know does. It's becoming more
quite amazing. So, of course, we three ladies who all have no problem talking, women talking today.
Yeah.
I think Katrina.
So a bit of background to the topic is, obviously, Louise and I both run events. I run Disrupt HR London. Louise runs many, many fantastic recruitment events here in the UK. And we struggled to get diversity just in gender more than anything else. I mean, the rest is also challenging. So Louise and I have been brainstorming about how can we get more women speaking. And we just thought, you know what, instead of us just talking about it, let's have a show about why is it so hard to find women speakers. So over to you, Louise, because she's written notes, which is so exciting. But anyone else who comes on the show, please don't write notes because we like to wing it.
So the reason I wrote notes is because I do want to do a blog post about this. And we have, like you say, Katrina, we've been talking about this for absolutely ages, about how much more noticeable it is now when you see an event where there just is not diversity. Now, I know we don't have diversity just by adding women, but that's what we're going to talk about today, is about the male-female split. And I think that 5 years ago, I doubt anybody would say anything if you ran an event where there was 12 speakers and 11 were men. I don't think anyone would even particularly think about it. But I think now it's not okay. I don't think perhaps we need to go into the reasons for why, because actually that is an entirely other conversation. But what you and I and Audra have been talking about is why don't women speak enough? And it comes down to people like you and I, Katrina, who are the event organisers, because they're the people who book the speakers. So if event organisers aren't putting women on stage, they're not getting on stage. Unless as a woman you organise your own event. So Audra and Katrina, you've organised this, so therefore you are the host, you are the women who are running it. But in the main, if women aren't on stage, it's because the event organiser hasn't booked them. And I think there's...
And it's not easy. I mean, I approached somebody yesterday who works in L&D in HR, which means she stands up in front of a room all the time to deliver training. And she's been to Disrupt HR, so she gets the fast format. And she's like, no, I'm not ready. And I'm like, who would be more ready? You like stand in front of a room already, but nope, she's not convinced yet. I need to get her to come. So, but it's not for want of trying. But
so I think that there's some women just don't want to talk. They just don't want to. They're happy to talk in their own offices, and they're happy to talk in different forums. And actually, we'll come on to that, because that is one of the issues. But I just thought, as a starting point, I think there's 3 reasons why women don't end up on stage, and that is because event organisers pick speakers who are already on the speaker circuit. So they're well known, they're safe bet, they're easy to find. Yeah. That's the first reason. That's laziness. There's no excuse for that. The second reason is that they are picking the most senior people in a niche or a business. So they're doing an event and they want director level. And I had this myself. I was looking for a director of an ad agency. And obviously, unfortunately, the majority of them are men. And that's just a fact as well. So if you're going to only pick the people who are already speaking and the very, very most senior people, then obviously already you are closing down the number of avenues to women. But there's another reason, and that is because they only pick the people who are the most visible, who shout the loudest, who put themselves forward, who have the highest profile. And that's where women can influence that. So there's 2 sides to this. One is that people like you and I, Katrina, can book more women. We can go out of our way to not have people who are speaking at every single event. We can go out of our way to think about the next level down in an organisation and why they have value. But also women who want to speak, and this goes for anybody who isn't getting a profile, put yourself forward. And that's one of the things which I know you help people with.
Wait, what was that?
Interesting point.
What was that last note? I missed that.
About women putting themselves forward more, and how we can help women to raise their profile. Because Katrina, I know you had a conversation a long time ago about a particular woman we both know who wanted to speak. And what was the issue with her?
Which
the profile.
Yes. I think some of our listeners will have heard me rant about this before, but somebody who is not only female, is of an ethnic minority. That's the best way to put this. So technically is 1% of the population. Like, she's 1% of the British population and does not have the word speaker on her LinkedIn profile or her Twitter, and is and no evidence that she speaks. There's no videos, no photos, nothing to be found on her really obvious to find profiles, and then complaining she's not getting booked. But just something else on that, though, that second point you made. Yesterday, Simon Helkyard, sorry if I just said your surname incorrectly, in defense of that very interesting comment that was written about, like, oh, I'm so sick of the same speakers, he said, really, something I hadn't really thought about, that sometimes the most senior person actually won't let their team speak because they want the limelight. And that was like, oh, my goodness. Just another layer of making it challenging.
No, I think you're right. But don't you think that there's something almost addictive about speaking? So when you book, so we're doing these Inspire events. So you've got Disrupt HR, we've got Inspire, and I'm sure you see the same thing, which is that someone speaks and then they go off stage and they say, I want to do that again. and so once you have profile, you don't want to let that go. And if you're a man who is getting speaking gigs and you're perceived to be good and you're a safe bet and you're easy to get hold of, then of course you're going to get more. And you'd have to be pretty impressive to say, do you know, I don't want to do that pass to someone else. And that, I think, is what Ben was saying to me earlier, was that this right, Ben, that you're going to have to comment in the sidebar that you...
Well, actually, Ben Gladwell's saying here, definitely right. Oh, God, Ben, stop typing. So, hello and welcome to the show, Ben. Nice to see you. Been ages. Defo, right point. We're always going for the big fish. Usually it's the more junior members in the team who do the work, heads of directors take the credit, which really pisses me off. I think it's down to the leader to throw the opportunities out. So doing this and watching the Ryder Cup, Ben, look at me, look at me, look at me.
So, Ben...
Obviously, I know Ben very well. Anyone who doesn't know him, adore him.
But Katrina, Ben said on Facebook that this happened this week. Literally, he ducked out a speaking gig and gave it to somebody else. Now, very, very few people would do that. Really? And I think that's great. But if I speak to somebody, and I've never spoken to a man who said, is there not a better woman who could do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny. I do think there's a couple of elements going on play there. So I think from an organizer's point of view, it's quite tough because, you do want to go, oh, God, it's a big name. They're going to pull bums on seats, right? Because you need to sell tickets. So I understand the risk side. Yeah. So I kind of get that. At the same time, wouldn't it be amazing if the men pushed back? In general, like Ben gets asked to speak an event. He sees that there's already 8 male speakers. And he loves being called pale male and middle-aged, by the way, just so you know. Hopefully we'll find out if he's watching the Ryder Cup still. But I do think the men speakers could push back as well and say, actually, I will speak when you get more women, or I won't speak. He has bitten. He's 35, for God's sake, in cover letters. So I think we need more of that as well. I don't know how we can get the men on side.
Yeah, no, I think that you're right. And actually, there's a bigger movement afoot. So I do know there are some groups where it is where you can become a member of them, and it encourages men to recognise who else is on a panel, and that's a broader diversity issue. And I think that some corporates probably would look at that before the rest of the world would. So I think that is true. Yeah. But if women want to speak more, that what we're looking at here is about offering yourself up, being visible. So updating your LinkedIn profile, putting the word speaker in that, sharing any knowledge you have. So Jo Lockwood said that sometimes what holds her back is not feeling that she has something worthwhile to share, which is totally untrue, Jo. But if you blog and comment on things and showcase your expertise, then someone will come to you for that. So when I'm looking for a speaker, I want a speaker who's knows about social media. Well, I want to see they've written about it, even if they've never spoken about it. So that's really simple thing to do, is just make sure you're showcasing expertise.
Right. Jo Ward's written here as well, lack of confidence is what's holding me back.
Oh, yeah.
I would if I had a particular specific point to make. Oh, is that who you meant?
Jo Lockwood in there as well.
They are right under each other. Yeah. So if I had a particular point to make, but just waffling or knowing where to begin can be a challenge for me. So on that, first and foremost, March 5th, Jo, you're so in Disrupt HR. I've just put you in. We will discuss topic. But I always say have something like you're saying, be that expert. Like Audra is all about employer branding, aren't you? That's your area of expertise. That's what you're passionate about. That's what you can rant about. Like that's got to be, you've got to have something.
That's a good point.
Do you know what I mean?
And Jo Ward, I know Jo has been judging Stephen O'Donnell's National Online Recruitment Awards. So, I mean, she obviously can't write about who was rubbish and who wasn't, but if she can link that to her own interest in speaking, that would be a really, really good idea. So talking about, I was judging these awards, and what was interesting was seeing the XYZ, and they could do this to make it better. And then once you start to talk about that, I mean, we all know what we bring to the table. We just might not want to bring it to the stage yet. Yeah. And it's about making that transition. But also maybe you don't ever want to speak on a stage, but something like this might be your bag, in which case you still need to showcase yourself, because we still have to find you. So Audra, how do you find the people who you get on this?
Well, one point I wanted to make is that we're talking about having a great profile and showcasing that you're talking online, but also I think women aren't aggressive enough in pitching. Where I had a friend that was new, and I knew she was ready to speak. I knew she wanted to, so I said, okay, what are we going to do here? And she said, well, I'm just kind of waiting, and no one's asked me to speak. And I said, well, you can't wait. What do you like? Alex, go and say. Like, I don't have any shame, and I'll just go and I'll say, this is what I'm going to speak about. It's going to be awesome. Give me a shot. Or I think less women are comfortable, just putting it out there and really being aggressive and pitching it, which I think is huge. I got so many of my first gigs by just being aggressive and having to pitch it. And then once you're super famous, that, it comes to you. But I think we have to accept that we need to be more aggressive and make it happen.
Yeah. But do you know what, Audra? Not even, I mean, yes, you should put yourself out there, but you don't even have to be particularly pushy. So say I wanted to speak at Disrupt HR. Well, the first thing I'd do would be I would go to Disrupt HR, and I would say to Katrina how much I loved her event, and I would speak to some of the other speakers, and then I would say, how do I get to speak? That's actually really, really straightforward. And you can do that for any event. If you want to speak at HR world or an expo, whatever it is, you go to it, you find these speakers, you ask them what the profile is of the organizer. You know, we're in the recruitment space, most of us. We're talking to HR recruitment people. Finding the person who organises the event is not tricky.
Right, and getting to know them.
Yeah, and just say, what does it take to speak at your event? But already having stuff in your LinkedIn profile which shows that you're worth talking to would be obviously relevant.
Exactly, or at least an expert in your space. I mean, I have lots and lots of new speakers. I have no problems with that because it's a 5-minute gig. Right, so there's less risk for me. But what I really wanted to do was create a platform, like I guess you're doing with Inspire Recruitment, where they get the video and from that they get more speaking work. And I hear it. Like one of my speakers was in Iceland today, actually, fills it today, based on the back of Disrupt. And that's what was the plan all along. So just, you know, try. And I think also the other thing is, of course, just make sure it's not a sales pitch. Always go in with, I've got this problem, or there is this problem in the industry. Here's an idea of a solution. This is what I'm passionate about. And people will love that.
No, I absolutely. And the thing about speaking at something like Disrupt or Inspire is using that collateral. So if you do get to be at an event on a show. So I don't want to do loads of speaking gigs because I don't like leaving my house. But I was spoke at Engage, and I said to the guy taking the photos, I said, I need a new LinkedIn profile shot. Can you get one of me with all the stuff behind me? So he took it was actually quite embarrassing when they put the photos up because there was like literally 30 photos of me. But he got some of me sitting on stage, you know, obviously sitting on stage, with a big banner behind me and the crowd in front. Now, if I had wanted to get more speaking gigs, making that my LinkedIn profile picture would be really powerful. So not everyone can achieve that, but can you just bring your own mic down when you're on a normal photograph? Now I look like I'm like a TV show host, you know?
Now you're very loud. Can I just say something to what Joanne Lockwood's just written here? Because she said, like, get a show reel. So show reels can be mega expensive and it can be freaking hilarious. So there is a conference organizer in Australia who won't book me because I do not have a show reel. And it's like, I keynote all over the planet. I just haven't got enough video from the conference organizers to get a show reel. But there are lots of photos of me speaking and lots of testimonials of me speaking. I'm just laughing going. So, yeah, I know I could video myself, but I'm on stage doing my thing. I'm a little like more interested in that than I do hear what you're saying, but it's quite tough, and I don't want to invest money in doing that. Like, so I agree with the photos and the other ways, and maybe I'm sharing the video. It's just not a show reel. Like there's lots of periscopes, for example.
John Foyne will do that for you. Ask John, he'll do it.
I've seen lots.
Can I just read
I've seen lots of
what's been
take their phone, stick it in the back of the room with a tripod, film themselves. And post it. I mean, it can be simple, but just know that not all conferences allow.
Yeah, but that's not a show.
Some of them.
That's not a show. That's
no, but at least
show reel. Show reels are like the ones with, you know, little short snippets and testimonials.
3 different conferences, you could put something together.
A blooper reel.
Yeah. Can I just read this out? Because this is quite funny, Mr. Gladhill. For me, I think it's us middle-aged white males need to champion up-and-coming female speakers more. However, I think the whole speaking ego thing has taken over.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think it's really funny because I had someone have a real go at me about speaking because I do love speaking because I want to improve the industry. I don't do it from an ego point of view. And I think how that's really obvious is when I come off stage to say SourceCon in Anaheim was a hugely successful keynote, one of my best. And when I came off, everyone was standing and clapping. I was actually really embarrassed and had my head down and walked to the back of the room. Because I wasn't there for that. I was there to shake them up and get them. And I think that's, if you can kind of work that out in your speakers.
Yes.
But whether they're there for ego or they're actually adding value. And I know the three of us
add value. As an event
organizer,
I know I book people who've got massive egos and I can live with it for the right mix. I can live with it for the right mix. So I think it's not great, and nobody wants to have somebody who. There's a couple of people who I know who I won't mention, who are both men, who have utterly loved to speak and have got so overexposed, and who don't get to speak anymore. You don't want to be the Christopher Biggins of the stage. It's just embarrassing. Although Christopher Biggins still gets business. I mean, Ben won't know who he is because Ben's too young, and nor were you, Audra. Massive glasses. thought the other thing we could just quickly talk about is some of the other channels you could take to get onto stage. So you know, if you're really, really keen, whether there is other things that you can do, like podcasts. I mean, what do you think about that as a channel to get exposure?
Or webinars. That's how I started.
Yeah. So webinars.
Say that again?
That's a great way to get started. It also gets used to people and the nerves and the whole feeling, and it's a great way to start, and then you can do it in person for sure.
I certainly started blogging, tweeting, webinars. I mean, obviously, and then Audra pitched this at me, which I really don't remember, but thank you, Audra, because you're awesome. So we ended up doing
someone came to me, I went to her and said, let's do this.
Yeah.
I have no recollection of that, of course. Brain fog, permanent brain fog for the last 5 years. But yeah, so yes, there are definitely other channels. And I know you and I have talked about panels as well, and the good and the bad of those.
Yeah, I think panels. I think it's easy. I do think panels are really, really easy. You see, somebody said to me that panels are like the thing you should do last. But I
hate panels.
So why do you hate them?
To start.
If you don't have a good person running the panel, you won't get. It can be really bad. You can get, like, I've been on, say, a webinar that was a panel, and the host spoke for 25 minutes of the 1 hour before anyone got to speak. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, it's one of the people you've mentioned who likes the sound of their own voice. And anyway, moving on. But also I think it's how you phrase your answer. You have to make sure that you phrase your answer very succinctly, if that makes sense, because you've only got a limited time. So and also just strange things like watch what you're wearing, because you're often sitting, not standing on stage, and that can catch people out. It's a lot. I think
that is a really good point about booking women is being more aware of things like that. So I'll come back to your comment about the content of a panel, but at the event I spoke at, they had high stools on stage, and I said, you can't do that. You need to either tell your speakers that you're going to do that, or you need to not do that. And I always wear jeans. It didn't make any difference to me. But the woman who was hosting the panel was wearing a short skirt. So she had to sit awkwardly for the entire 40 minutes. So that's just an awareness point. If you're going to have women speakers, to be aware they don't want to flash their underwear to the audience. That's not cool. You make someone feel so awkward on that point. And the other point about panels is, if I'm asked to be on a panel, I want to know, before I say yes, how many other people are on it. Because I wouldn't do a panel with more than 3 people in total plus the host. For what you say, exactly that reason, Katrina. And also, I want to be absolutely certain that the person hosting the panel is hosting it, not giving their opinion. So I did ask those 2 questions last time, and I was insistent. And they wanted to do it anyway. I was insistent we did a pre-event run-through, not the entire thing, but just to get an essence of what we were going to be doing. And I would have spoken up if I thought there was somebody who was going to take that over. But they were fabulous. So she made very, very clear that she wasn't going to give her opinion, and she was going to come to everybody and give them all equal time. But God, what a waste of your time to sit on stage looking like a complete idiot, not getting a chance to speak. That's not all right.
Yeah, it all depends on the host. I agree with that.
Yeah. What chat's going on?
Well, and
one thing
we're still going on about Audra thinking short skirts sells tickets, but anyway.
We can make that joke because we are women. We're allowed to say that.
We are. But see, okay, so then that goes to a whole other point, right? We were talking about before we came on about women tearing each other down.
Right.
As well. So last week, I'm in Africa having this amazing experience, and I appreciate that this particular team are above and beyond the normal, because these carers work, or the staff work with street kids, and they're all about getting them back to a safe home. But we had an away day, and they had some training, and then each team, there were 5 teams, had to get up and give feedback on their particular aspect of well-being. And the second team did one on fitness and got really into it. They were dancing around, they were singing, they were clapping, they were carrying on. And then my team were meant to give feedback on taking notice, and I thought, it'll be like we are in Britain, we'll just feed it back like this. And they didn't. They completely improv'd the whole thing, and it went insane. But what I watched was the team completely and utterly support them. And I think this is another reason that people don't get up and speak, because we don't do that.
No.
You know, we tear.
And that is what I've seen.
Tips on that? What can we do about that?
I've got a friend who I'd asked, this is someone I used to work with a very long time ago, and I'd asked her whether she wanted to speak at an event, and she said, I'm really, really hesitant to speak at events. I've been in the audience with many people who have been so rude about speaker. So they have been negative about their content, their slides, what they're wearing, which is unfortunately quite a female thing, I'm afraid. And she said, I don't put myself in that position. I don't want my peers ripping me apart, because I'll get off stage and they'll say, oh, you're amazing, I thought you were fabulous, because she's been there with people who've done that. And I think that is so sad, and it does put people off. But that's why Disrupt HR and Inspire are perfect, because you say at the start of yours, which Alex said at ours, everyone be kind. It's 5 minutes. Don't be disrespectful. Don't talk over them. Don't shout out. No heckling. I mean, why you'd have to tell an audience not to heckle is beyond me.
Oh God, I never say any of that.
You do tell people to be respectful. But you do tell people to be respectful. And that is 5 minutes of knowing that you've got the audience's attention and they're giving you every chance to succeed, rather than hoping that you might fail. And that's got to build self-esteem.
It is quite amazing. I mean, what you say, like I've come off stage. So it was ERE. ERE killed me. I don't know whether I was too far in my middle of my premenopause or the audience just killed me. But I came off and I went to the bathroom, and I love it when we've got our own ones, so you don't have to get the feedback in your face straight away. And this girl goes, oh, your dress, it's given me the confidence to wear tight-fitting clothes. And that was it. That's what she got out of my entire 45-minute presentation. And I'm just like, wow, okay. And I've had that feedback before. Great dress. From women, always from women. And you're just going, is that it? That's all you got out of what I said?
It wasn't me who said that, was it?
No, if you said it, it would be different. I wouldn't be expecting you to get out of it.
That is really disappointing, isn't it? But and that speaker feedback is something which even the most accomplished speakers sometimes struggle with. I mean, I know that some people, well, you like to watch your videos back to learn from them. Oh my God. I'd rather poke myself in the eye than
we do.
I will not I will not read speaker feedback. I'm sorry. Some of you have heard this before.
Ridiculous. But do you think it's harder?
Yeah. So Audra knows that I had ridiculous from the moment she opened her mouth to the moment she finished ridiculous. I'm sorry, but what am I meant to do with that? And it's still, I remember it verbatim. I ended up sobbing for an hour.
Yeah,
it hurt me so much. I'd flown myself to San Francisco. I reckon did that.
I mean, men take that feedback, some men, and say, whatever, bollocks, I don't care. Where women are more likely to go, oh, that really upsets me, I'm not going to do it again. And that's totally generalizing. But I do think it's harder for us to take the negative feedback, which could be part of the problem too. Well, you kind of already said it, actually, Louise. Yeah.
And I mean, that's why I think watch yourself back. So I watch myself back and go, okay, you're saying okay, stop saying okay. You know, like I will set myself a little challenge for the next time.
I can't watch myself back.
No. I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, and I'm sure it's good advice. But I know I don't want to watch myself back because my hands are like, what would I do? I have to sit on my hands. I don't want to see myself doing that like some sort of complete moron.
Why? What's wrong with using your hands? I use my hands all the time.
Okay, so that's a good point, though. Is a
really good tip. This actually I did too, as well as her. Is if you're kind of nervous about speaking, but you have something to say, you want to say it, but you're nervous. There's probably all sorts of different clubs, but Toastmasters is one that we both use. And I went there just for about, I don't even know, 6 months, like every other week or so. Got up and spoke. I felt much more comfortable. It helped me massively. It's been super cheap, and you meet some nice friends. That's a great way to get used to being on stage. Good point, Joanne.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. We all have to find what makes us more comfortable to do this if we want to speak. And then obviously there's loads of resources out there about being properly prepared and structuring correctly and having quality slides. So that advice exists. You don't need to be in a specific recruitment focused group for that. You can find that once you know on the speaking stage.
The amount of stuff on just YouTube is amazing, helping you with like just public speaking or the content piece.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. One of the other things which Jonathan said is around peer-to-peer post speakers mentoring. And I guess that That's a really tricky one, right? People phone me up for advice all the time about tons and tons of different things. I do speak to lots of people, but for most speakers who have day jobs, like Joe Ward said, how realistic is it to, if someone phones you up and says, you were amazing doing that keynote, Katrina. Can you spend 40 minutes mentoring me? What do you do?
Yeah. See, obviously you and I have been talking about forever. We need to put together some kind of program, and we will. However, it depends how much time it's going to take. So Andre has been sending me his slides for his talk at SOSU, which is coming up. And I could just scan them and feedback. And I was very cutthroat because I'm like, I'm in a hurry. And he knows that. So I just kind of went like, you need to remove all of those words, like words, gone, get rid of the words. But, I don't mind that because it's 5 minutes back and forth. But sometimes it's also really hard because I don't know. I think it's just come from speaking how I've got better. I can't actually say. And I imagine Audra feels the same. It's like quite hard to put it into words.
How do you mentor someone, Audra?
I do actually have a mentee. It's not about speaking, but it's in the field. But speaking, I think we would just have conversations like we're having right now. Like, here's some things you can do. Like, or also just introducing to people to contacts. I do that all the time. I know, like, an event organizer. I did it just this week. So a friend of mine is trying to work in more speaking. So I introduced her to the event organizer. They're going to chat, and I'm pretty sure she's going to speak at the event next year. So that's one way I can always help people is, obviously I have to kind of have some faith that they're a friend and that they're going to pull it off. But I'm happy to introduce people.
Yeah.
Another way I help out often is I host a lot of panels. My next 2 things are panels. And one reason I like to do that is because I often get to pick or at least have a say in who's on the panel. So that really helps. I'll always bring in new people that way. I love that.
Yeah, and Audra is amazing at running a panel because she makes sure everyone gets to talk. She actually preps as well. Yeah, she doesn't wing it, which is quite amazing.
I think that's terrible.
So Joanne Lockwood has written here, could we have a women's speaker get together at events? We all gather at these. Why not create a WhatsApp or a Facebook group to build well, let's just do that at the end of the call. We can do that. I mean, I've been thinking about doing like a meetup kind of thing as well. We have been talking a lot about starting something. We just can't quite work out how to do it.
Sorry, Audra, I talked over you then.
I love the idea of a Facebook group because we could also share like, we just saw this event and share it in the group and help each other that way. I think that's genius, Joanne. Let's make it happen. Yeah.
So are we going to call it like a new recruitment HR speakers group? Or are we going to be gender specific and upset people? Because there's lots of new male speakers that want to speak.
Well, what if you let in men as well? But you just called it. I mean, I don't see why men couldn't be in the group as well. But the point could be
except Ben.
Definitely.
No, Ben's offering.
Don't leave me out. I need love.
He's offering hugs. I'm not sure about that.
Ben Gladhill, you could give me that call you've been promising me for 3 months.
I think what we're trying to do is people who really want a voice, who are struggling to get a voice. That's what we're looking to do. And some of them may be men, but what we're seeing is that event organisers are not trying hard enough to get women on stage. So it's about giving people a voice who want a voice, and a group which can achieve that is great. So after the show, I know that you can get all the people's contact details through this amazing technology, Katrina. So we could try to bring people together through that. And I'd love to.
Shamila gives you a nice lead in to something you were going to talk about.
Exactly. I was just about to come to that. So this is it. So what we.
Shamila is reading your brain.
We also need to talk to event organisers. So it's all very well you and me and Audra saying we want to include women, and lots of people do, but there are event organisers out there who fall into the category I mentioned earlier of being lazy, can't be asked. So really we want to be able to talk to event organisers to encourage them to get more women on stage by taking more time, by not just going for the easy options, by seeking referrals, by saying, and who else do you know? So I say, who do you know? And they say, Bob and Stuart. And I say, who else do you know? And I will keep going until they tell me, like Lucy. So very rare I would say, I want a woman, but I would say, and who else do you know? And who else do you know? So seek referrals. And then lists. So Hung's list, which is, if anyone doesn't know, is a list of So Hung started to create a list of women speakers worldwide. And as a concept, I really like it. I know he's building it into a website, and I think as a website, it would be even more valuable. But I hope Hung won't mind me saying this, but what it actually turned into was a list of every woman who anyone ever knew. And it wasn't women who necessarily wanted to speak. It was women.
Yeah, or speak well.
And so what...
Sorry, I did say that out loud.
Isn't it?
Sorry.
I'll give you a list of 3 women I know, but they're not amazing speakers, and that doesn't give any value. So I know Hannah's working on that now. Oh, it's been shared in the sidebar. Thank you so much. It's a monumental list, and it's a great starting point, and you can sort it. But we don't just want anybody. You want great speakers. And that's why referrals does work quite well.
Because that will work with new speakers who know their stuff as well.
It's all about referring people.
So
yeah. They maybe take a bit more work though, Audra, because you refer Susie who you met at a conference and who you know knows her shit. But as an event organizer, that takes a bit more work because Susie hasn't spoken before, and you've got to try and find the way to get Susie on stage, and that is by saying, well, okay, would you like to come to an event first to see how it runs, or would a panel work for you, or would a workshop be more attractive? You'll never get some Susies without offering them other ways to talk to your audience. And as an event organizer, just put the bloody legwork in and spend the time to do that.
I have one other tip. So say you do go to a conference and you're hoping to speak at it. I think one thing that helps too is to stay for the whole thing, because they like speakers that are willing to actually stay. They don't just come in and leave. So stay for the whole thing. Obviously, network loads. They see your networking, but I mean, tweeting and promoting it. If you promote the conference a lot, they're more likely to pick you as a speaker because they want speakers that are going to take time to promote it and not just show up and not do any promotion. So that can definitely help. If the organizer sees you doing that, they're more likely to let you speak.
Yeah. It staggers me that speakers will just turn up for their session and go. And Shamila will tell you exactly how important it was for me to be sitting in the front row at hers. Like, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I do exactly what you do, Audra, don't we? We cheer each other on. There's like a support network as well, because we understand what it feels like on that stage to be so vulnerable, because you are getting up and you're sharing your opinion. And it's like, it's just your opinion, and they don't have to agree with your opinion, but having your cheer squad, as I call them, and I will never forget, that big monumental, my first huge one in Anaheim, that entire front row on the right was my cheer squad and a couple over on the left. So I knew when I walked from one end to the other, I was getting positive energy. So I completely agree with your point, Audra.
I've seen Ben's put another comment in the sidebar, which is what pisses me off is the fact that vendors are having a massive influence on conference or gig lineups. And it's a diversity inclusion killer. An interesting side point to that is I do this tech event in June every year, and ahead of it I did a load of live chat shows like this with the vendors. And I wanted to have myself, a recruiter, and somebody from the organisation on. There was 20 companies, and only 2 of them had a woman MD. So I had Wendy McDougall on from Firefish, and only one of them had
Wendy's here.
And only one of them had a woman MD. And I think she sent a male colleague on. So already, I was just like, so I'm going to be doing these shows with 19 men. So when I brought the other person on to chat with them, I had to work. I couldn't get diversity in my recruiter lineup because I had to get like a load of women to and it was so difficult because so many of these vendors were not putting forward the women in their organisations. So that's a real frustration when you've got sponsors or vendors at an event and you're giving them an opportunity to speak. If they're all men, you're already screwed.
Yeah. Was it Lucy? Because she's written, I was your token woman.
Yeah, what was Lucy? She was on something. Yeah, she was. And that's awful, isn't it? But and you know what? You have some female friends who you can say, I do need you to be my token woman. Until there are more women.
I mean, it is tough. I mean, Louise and I have had some very frank conversations about kind of going, oh, good, I've got my gender diversity, tick. Oh, good, I've got my ethnic diversity, tick. I've got my disabled, I've got my, and you're just going, oh, God, Like it is. Sometimes it feels absolutely awful to do that, but I just think it's absolutely crucial. How can you have a proper representation if you don't do that?
Unfortunately, now so we're at this point in time when we've got to be super aware of it, I think. And then we will tip beyond that, and it will just hopefully start to happen where the other thing is that there was a point in time when women spoke at conferences about being women, and they just speak at conferences. We have so Jo Lockwood spoke at our Inspire event, and what I said to Jo was that she was talking about her entrepreneurial journey as a transgender woman, but what we're really hoping to move towards is a situation where Jo will just talk about other things that are relevant to her. And that, I mean, I didn't invite Jo because she's transgender, she's an absolutely brilliant speaker, but we want to move towards that where you don't feel like you are representing a type of person. You are there to tell your story, but we're not there yet for lots of things, which is why we're having a conversation about getting women at events.
So what do we do about yesterday? So it was Tony who wrote the comment on my LinkedIn post, which could have gone either way, by the way, because we don't really know which way he meant it because he hasn't come back, where he just writes, oh, you know, good to see some fresh faces, or need to see some, or something, whatever he wrote. How do we get those kind of people on board and pushing back and going, well, besides not attending and the organizer not even knowing?
So what do you mean? So having people who being more positive rather than negative, doing something about it rather than bitching? I suppose eventually those people make a decision whether they're going to continue to contribute or they're going to go away. I find that more and more people are contributing. So, you know, you and I have this conversation when we see a lineup which is, 70% male, and we'll ping each other a message. More and more people are doing that with me now and saying, this isn't right. They should have asked me. And I say, well, tell them. So, you know, go to them. I went to somebody, and I won't say who it is, he's a really nice guy. I went to somebody who asked me to promote his event. It was for recruitment agencies. And I said, I really like what you're doing. I said, but I won't, because if you looked at your lineup, they're really great people. I said, you've got one woman, you've got 7 men. Oh, I hadn't even noticed.
See, that's the thing. I don't even think they mean it. It's just a matter of not thinking about it, right?
But he did. He changed it. He went away and he changed it. Right. And that's brilliant.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. But then there was the other one that was exactly that ratio as well. And that went ahead as is. And there were definitely women in that space in some of the skill set. But I mean, I sent a panel to you yesterday, which was awesome. It was in the tech space, and it had someone, it was, oh God, I can't remember now. But basically Black, Indian, and female, and everything. The entire panel. It was just like perfect.
And it wasn't diversity. It wasn't a diversity panel.
It was tech. So if they can do that in tech, we can do that in recruitment where there are far more women. You know, what are we doing?
No.
So, yeah. I hear what Jim is talking about with Speaker Hub and rate speeches, but then we go back to that whole thing. You know, the people that can be bothered writing a comment might just write horrible comments. Yeah.
I didn't know that thing. Because I've heard of that. Rating speakers, that's pretty, could go either way. It could be pretty nasty.
Yeah, it could be pretty nasty. I'd rather not. After my ridiculous one, I'll never forget. Yeah,
I think they meant you were ridiculously brilliant.
It's a glass door for speakers.
Amazing.
Yeah, Audra knows that's not what it was. She was there.
Well, I think they're ridiculously amazing. So my opinion matters.
I thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll just leave it to the people that know. But I do think, so we sort of need to make a pact as well, I think, to go to more event organisers and maybe encourage all the male speakers we know to push back.
Yes.
Maybe that's something we could do.
Yes. Well, we do. We've got great networks, and we've got great networks who are vocal. And we need more Bens who are prepared to say,
we need more Bens.
Well, except the fact he's white and middle-aged, but apart from that, and he's a bloke.
With a Yorkshire accent, let's not forget.
I thought he was watching the Ryder Cup. How embarrassing, sorry.
He's multitasking.
No, so
Lucy's got it right. We have a hashtag, we need more Bens. It's trending.
So we need to be more vocal. We need to say to people who are organising events, can I just point you in the direction of some women who I know who are amazing? And that maybe is all we need to say. I'd love to send more emails saying that. You appear to have made a mistake with your speaker lineup. Let me point you to some other amazing speakers.
Yeah. It is funny though, because remember I did that one and then I sent you on the email that I'd sent, and the guy never replied to me, not once, about his lineup. And I was just like, I took the time to write it. And I said, look, I'm an event organizer. I understand how hard this can be, but it's possible. Silence. So we're not going to win them all, but I do think maybe we just need to start reaching out to the male speakers.
I think that would also help.
We all must know 100.
But also helping each other out, like mentioning, hey, they're booking. I know that they're booking for this show next March. Letting your female friends go ahead and pitch. Here's the contact. Yeah.
And can I just give a shout out on some of the people that I do think do that extremely well, because there are, like, I think Shannon Pritchett does it extremely well with SourceCon. I think Phil Tusting does it well with SOSU. There's always a really good mix. So even though we are talking about the negative side, there are some conference
Mark Lennox with the In-House Forum does an amazing job. So there's no reason why anyone else can't. The firm with their speakers. I mean, they're run by 2 women, but that's, it's so doable. Good, and like actually what Ben's saying, Ben's is saying creating a WhatsApp group. And actually we didn't mention Jamie Lennon, but Jamie Lennon does make an enormous effort as well. He is not unaware of this issue. He is on it too. Even though he's off for 6 weeks, swanning around the world, I think.
So Lucy, I've been asked for speakers for L&D and recruitment and Brexit. Any female suggestions? Can you message me afterwards and tell me more? And I will. No doubt.
This is the group. See, this is going to actually change something. This show, if we get this going.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah. I think Facebook group as well, Audra. Yeah. I just think it's just yeah, it's a little lazy. Because WhatsApp can be Brexit, that one. Yeah. Let's form a government with a DUP. Anyway, moving on. The trouble with WhatsApp is obviously the messaging. It starts being a bit crazy, but I think in a Facebook group that could be really, really good.
It's gone really crazy. Can you see it?
I know. It's like little angels have come in and put little circles all around you. It's quite amusing. You're in speckled light. I don't know what your camera's doing. It's awesome. Like it needs a clean. Actually, it looks like the windows do here when my cleaner's been in. She doesn't get cleaning windows. She does smearing windows. It's very funny. Michael, the sweet filter. It's really good. So, yeah. So I'd love to know if the boys that are on the chat would make a pact to push back as well, because I know quite several of you speak. Or if you'd be prepared to, I don't know, make a pact like we're going to do to get in touch with more of the male speakers we know to ask them to push back.
Give intros to females that you know.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough because a lot of the stuff is all over the place, isn't it? Sometimes I hear about the conferences when they're trying to sell me sponsorship packages, and I'm like, no, thanks, but I'd love to speak. Suddenly end up in these random conversations. So there are lots and lots of conferences.
No, I'm with you. Cool.
So, what else is on the list, Louise? I'm scared we've missed something.
No, I'm not used to doing such a long show. I'm normally out of here at 32 minutes.
We like to talk for an hour.
No. So I think what we need to think about is just making more event organisers aware, helping women get a voice, other men thinking about ways in which they can push back and recommend people. Working on Hung's list. So Hung's list, I know he's working on it now. There's no point replicating something which already exists. So I think that list would have more value if people were actually up for speaking and could say what they were up for speaking on.
Is he going to make a website? Is that a thing?
That is.
Because it could be like sections, like people that speak on employer brand, people that speak on diversity, people that speak on, and it could separate it out so that it would be easier to find who you need to find.
Ben's email address. Not being able to edit it is frustrating because, like, what mine says I speak on, I don't really speak on. I kind of speak around the edges of it. So it's like, I want to edit it. So that's just me. So who knows who else is on the list?
You can't edit as well.
Not the first 534 people on it or something like that. That's a random figure I just pulled out of my ass, by the way. Interesting point, Shamilia. Oh my goodness. So the thing is, I would never put my name on such a list, but I'd put my name on the list.
Yeah, but that is how the list works, is that other people put your name on the list. They just have to be certain that you're prepared to speak. So they've either seen you speak.
But why wouldn't you put your name on it? I don't get it.
That confidence.
Which is really interesting because Jim Stroud said she thoroughly he thoroughly enjoyed hearing her speak, which is like one of the highest forms of compliments on the planet.
Wow. So that's
wow, interesting. I don't feel confident enough. I think it's a Dutch thing. I don't think it's a Dutch thing.
Yeah,
I think it's a
not being confident enough or aggressive. I don't think aggressive in a bad way. I think of it in a good way.
It's a human thing.
It can be.
Yeah, I guess we're not all. That's what Michael's saying. That I'm just repeating people's comments in the sidebar. I guess that that's why event organisers need to be savvy and not be lazy. Is that not everyone is going to be on a list? So this event I'm doing at the moment for JobGate, it's a job board conference where Jesus, there's so few women who are senior in job boards. It is so.
I'm thinking. Yay!
Asked a friend who I knew. She said, "Yeah."
I don't know what about.
So,
call a friend. I need a woman.
That is absolutely not. I need someone to talk about being human.
That is exactly what the conversation was. Whatever she said, that's exactly what it was.
Human. So for that event, I wouldn't have found those women on a list. So I had to be really imaginative. So yeah, I think lists are not the be all and end all. But I work my network. So I phoned up people like Joe Savin, and I said, "Who do you know?" And I must have asked him. I know he must have given me 15 names, and then I just picked the females out of that list. So because I already had so many men, now I have got amazing men. It doesn't mean I've got shit men or not enough men. I've still got amazing men speak. I've just got some women too.
A lot of event organizers in the US, at least that I've seen, they don't go out looking for people. They just wait until they get pitches and they plug them in. I've seen that at least. So that's why I was saying that you need to pitch it.
Yeah. Mine's 50-50. So because with Disrupt HR, I want 50% in-house and 50% consultant. And then I want the gender diversity, the ethnic diversity, everything just to add to it. So I have to go hunt out the in-house crew because the consultant side, of course, we love to self-promote. So we're quite happy to get up and speak. So that is quite a challenge. So it's interesting to hear you say that. But imagine we've talked about one particular event that just seems to pull out the same speakers every single time. I'm like, I don't understand why people pay to go as well.
They do. It's surprising.
They do. And you and I go every time. I can't believe the audience is full. It's like, sure. Yeah, anyway.
But if you are an event organiser who is only relying on people coming to you to speak, then I think Christ. So that's the difference between as a recruiter. It's the difference between bunging an advert on Indeed and you get some great responses.
Exactly, but
I'm a headhunter. There's no way I'm just waiting for people to come to me.
But you keep a recruitment background. I think a lot of event organizers didn't. Their job is event planning. They came from event planning, and
they fall in their lap. That's just so easy, isn't it? Which comes back to the primary thing about lazy.
That's why SourceCon is such an amazing conference. It's run by somebody who understands recruitment and sourcing. It's and the employer brand ones, if it's run by someone that does employer branding, are really good conferences. It's the same.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting that Jim brought up the video thing because he's awesome and he always periscopes, but of course trying to get it off Periscope and then into a video and it's like practically impossible. Much as I love you for it, Jim, because I could embed your periscopes, but no, everyone has.
Yeah, he's really good at editing too. A lot of people are scared of that.
Oh. Bye, Mike. He's running away. Yeah. ERE is also very good. ERE is a bit different, though. I don't think Todd's background's recruitment, is it? I don't know. But they really get it. Yeah, very different crowd because from a head off to the sources. I think SourceCon, that audience is quite unique. A lot more playful.
But if you do want the best speakers, even if you don't know anything about recruitment, if you do want the best speakers, you will go out and look for them. Like Lucy just said then, I want someone to talk about Brexit. Well, you have to then go and look for somebody who can talk about Brexit.
And in what way? Are we talking about Brexit impacting recruitment or are we talking about
I nearly said breakfast. That's much more interesting.
Oh my God. Wendy has only just added the word speaker to her LinkedIn profile.
That's good though.
Oh my God.
I'm going to book her.
I've heard you. I hope it's a separate thing so I can go recommend you as a speaker. Seriously. Oh my God.
But Louise, like you said, that you have to go find that person that knows Brexit. I've seen the opposite where it really bombs where the event person says, hey, I know you, can you just speak about Brexit? And it went terrible. I've seen that exact situation where the person said, sure, I'll do that. And it got horrible reviews.
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Does Stephen O'Donnell not have it on his either?
Now, do you think you have to have it on your header? Does it have to be in your header, or could it be throughout?
No, just in your, like I wrote social recruiting trainer and speaker. I think I've got mine split out because I speak so much, but you could just have that, like just your job title and speaker. Stephen, you've spoken at my event. What are you talking about?
Ben wants to do the closing line for this show. He's written the wrap up for us. Have you seen that? Doing the sidebar. He's so professional,
No.
Ben. Can you see it at the top?
Where?
Yeah, just with Joe Wood.
You've got
to read that at the end from Ben.
No, I think you should, Louise. It'll sound better. Can you do Yorkshire?
I'm from Manchester, actually, so that is north.
No, he's from Yorkshire, so can you do Yorkshire? Okay. Go and read it out.
Says, men should give up the dance floor. He says it dance, that is northern. Men should give up the dance floor, share opportunities, promote great female thinkers and doers, and try to break down the whole speaking barrier. All you're doing is telling a story. Yeah. So be confident that you have a story to tell. Put yourself forward. I don't need to write a blog post anymore. Put a little screenshot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, like we've got fight spam and we've got stuff like that. I think we need to come up with our own hashtag and start like with my Be Human, let's start a little movement behind this to go with the group to say, but just in general, speakers, new speakers, full stop.
Yeah, and that would be great.
Yeah, completely.
I think that's right. Now, you could utilise that when you see lineups which are very male dominant or showing no diversity at all, and it's an inoffensive way. It's pointing out to somebody the mistake that. Yeah, like that.
So every Friday we have a webinar like this. Just be here, 3 p.m. every Friday, except when the chart clocks change and it goes all screwed to 1 week or 2 weeks. But we're here every week. And obviously Recruiter Zone. Speaking of shows, next week we have Cindy McGregor, and I haven't got the show up yet because I really did only get back from Africa on Sunday, so I will get it up.
I believe having a good customer experience and how that relates to candidate experience, because she has a lot of knowledge on that. That should be a fun show.
Fantastic.
Full of it.
It should. I met her at one of my very, very first international speaking gigs in New York, and I haven't spoken to her since, so I'm quite excited. So, why is Joanne saying first I heard? I thought she was coming on our show. That's quite worrying. Anyway, moving on. Back to you, Louise. Thank you so much for all of your insight and your time. Thank you for coming out from behind the interview to the interviewee side as well. Thoroughly. Thank you for being organised and writing
a note. Pleasure. I shall blog about this show afterwards because I've got some sort of hideous OCD which makes me do it. But I have really, really enjoyed this.
All I've written down is Joe Ward, March 5th. So Joe, if you're still here, you're screwed. Because I'm going to get you up there.
Continue this conversation. It's not going to stop here. We're going to work on that group. Let's keep this going. That's the most important part.
Yes. Yeah, no, right now I'm going to do that. I just need to think of, I need hashtag help, people. Someone tweet me a hashtag that we could use. But yeah, we've really got to start this support. Cool. Louise and I have been talking about it for a year. We need to do something. So.
Cool. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you again. We shall see you all same time next week. Have a good weekend, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.